This is a Squabble Studios production.
Hello and welcome to Squabble, a noisy quarrel about something petty or trivial. I'm Carter.
And I'm Jacob.
And we're virtual. Right now, for now. This is actually the second episode we've recorded virtually.
Well, the second attempt, yeah.
Yeah, the first episode was just, we're working out the kinks, so that
True.
was that
it's
first
very
episode
kinky.
was a fail. Well,
like as in having lots of kinks.
Right. Let's move past that. Anyway,
right. Season 6.
Season 6. First episode, kind of.
First released episode.
Yeah, first released episode, hopefully.
Look, we're going to have another unreleased episode. It's going to be that one time when we deleted our first episode all over again.
Right. We're going to re-record that first episode, though, because it was a really high-quality idea.
It was funny. So. It just, the actual quality didn't come out right.
But this one, I think, is we're going to argue a lot on this episode, so let's just jump right into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's getting close to 4th of July. If it hasn't already passed, I'm not sure when this episode's coming out.
Patriotic
but right now,
time.
when we're recording this, it's approaching July 4th. And so what better way to celebrate than to have all the presidents battle to the death against each other MMA style.
And find the truly the best president, in terms of fighting, at least. I guess this has nothing to do with their political prowess. Right.
So just a disclaimer, we're setting aside all political affiliations and political...
This isn't about morality. This is
about politics.
Absolute...
This is about war.
This is all out bloody brawling.
Right. Which president would be the best, not on an account of their policies, but on account of their...
Which president would clap cheeks?
Yeah, we're gonna put some popular presidents, more notable presidents against each other to fight to the death, MMA style. So no, they're not using Secret Service. No, I don't think guns are allowed because our modern day presidents would destroy if that were the case. So I think
we're only counting like you said for now. We might do a part 2, but for now we're just doing the popular ones. We don't want
there's a lot of presidents.
James Polk in here. Who gives a crap about him?
There's a lot of presidents. So we've picked out a few. We have, should I just list them off?
Yeah, well, we can just start with the first one, who we've got up against each other. I don't know if we should release the full list.
Oh, okay. You think we should just say, well, no, let's release the full list so people can start placing their bets.
Okay, that's fair.
And I'll put some cool music over this part. Andrew Jackson versus John F. Kennedy. Barack Obama versus Theodore Roosevelt. So funny to say. Donald Trump versus Bill Clinton. William Howard Taft versus Abraham Lincoln. John Adams versus Thomas Jefferson. Richard Nixon versus George Washington. Ronald Reagan versus Ulysses S. Grant. And Joe Biden versus George W. Bush.
Wow, truly some powerhouses in here.
Jacob,
all different weight categories.
Are you placing any bets?
Like who I think is going to take it all the way home?
Yeah.
I've got some ideas. I don't know if I should give myself away so soon.
Okay, I can tell you one thing. I don't think it's going to be Taft.
You'd be surprised.
So let's just go number one. First seed versus our last seed. We actually didn't seed. This is randomized seeds. But our first bracket is Andrew Jackson versus John F. Kennedy. Who would win in a fight?
All right, I'm going to have to go for the underdog here. I'm going to have to go John F. Kennedy. He's going to have my vote. When he was in office, he was young, he was in shape, he was well put together. We didn't get to see him at his full potential due to an unnecessary series of events. But if that didn't happen to him, I think he would have been a great president. I think he was for the time he was actually alive. And I think that he would absolutely destroy Andrew Jackson.
You're wrong. You're wrong on 100 accounts. Andrew Jackson is the probably, I'm not, remember, politics out of this, but Andrew Jackson was probably the most savage president in history. I have some notes here that I could read. I have a cheat sheet, and Andrew Jackson is the most full list ever. I have he was in the Tennessee militia. So that's pretty cool. I don't even know what that is. That's epic. And I actually read this before we started because it was so cool, but I'm going to read it now for the people. I'm going to read it word for word from Wikipedia, this amazing story on Andrew Jackson. This is this guy. His name is Charles Dickinson. published an attack on Jackson in the local newspaper, and it resulted in a written challenge from Jackson to a duel. And since Dickinson was considered an expert shot, Jackson determined it would be best to let Dickinson turn and fire first, hoping that his aim might be spoiled in his quickness. Jackson would wait and take careful aim at Dickinson. Dickinson did fire first, hitting Jackson in the chest. The bullet that struck Jackson was so close to his heart that it could not be removed. And under the rules of dueling, Dickinson had to remain still as Jackson took aim, shot, and killed him. Jackson's behavior in the duel outraged many in Tennessee, who called it brutal and a cold-blooded killing, and saddled Jackson with a reputation as a vengeful, violent man. He became a social outcast.
Yeah,
that is epic.
He let himself get shot, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
And but here's the thing. He's not using guns. All right, this is hand-to-hand. The man is 6'1", 6'2", I think, which seems tall, right? But he was only like 150 pounds. That means he was a scrawny man, which also means that John F. Kennedy could punch his... It's John F. Kennedy, right? I didn't make that up.
Yeah.
That he could just punch his face in, okay? Let me tell you, he was an absolute baller. I don't know if you've heard the stories of the sketchy stuff he did, but he was an absolute gangster, dude. He, did blow in the White House and had tons of female visitors. He was insane. I watched a video about it the other day.
John F.
He was an
Kennedy?
absolute gangster. Yeah, he was like an absolute Chad.
Wow. Okay.
He was,
I think
yeah.
this first round, I think we're going to bring in a third party.
I think we need an expert. Yeah.
I think we need an expert, and I have just a person in mind.
Mm-hmm. Should we introduce him like this is like a wrestler? Like, introducing, standing at 6'2", weighing in at however much he weighs, introducing the man,
Caleb.
the myth, Caleb Fifer.
Hey, guys.
Caleb, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, hey, Caleb.
There he is.
You're a political scientist, is that right?
Well, I am a history major. So I consider myself to be a bit of a sort of an expert on this.
Right. You've probably been, I think you've been you know what's going on. Andrew Jackson versus John F. Kennedy. Who's taking the cake here?
Mr. Fifer, you know that John Kennedy was an absolute Chad, right? You've heard that?
So here's the thing. Here's how I approach it. These two guys were obviously had competing levels of savagery. John F. Kennedy, Jacob talked about him and all of his exploits. Dude, I mean, you might have to bleep me out, but John F. Kennedy just plain and simple. However, Andrew Jackson is a ruthless, savage, cold-blooded man. Don't forget, he is responsible for the Cherokee Trail of Tears.
True. He was involved in over 100 duels. That was documented.
John F. Kennedy,
duels.
if this was a battle of the Chads, John F. Kennedy would take the cake. But unfortunately...
I have some other notes here on Jackson that that I want to read off. One, he was notorious for having a quick temper. Okay, so you mess with Jackson, he's on you. And then another story that I have when he was a kid. I will also read this word for word because it's so impressive. In his early teens, he was a courier for the militia, but Andrew was captured by the British. And when he refused to clean the boots of a British officer, the officer slashed at him with a sword, leaving him with scars on his left hand and head, as well as an intense hatred for the British.
Me too. I also have that.
Yeah, me too. Andrew was held as a prisoner, contracted smallpox, and nearly starved to death in captivity, but escaped. Wow. I mean, this sounds like a movie waiting to be made.
Fine. I will give it to you. Andrew Jackson can move on to the second round.
Boom. Andrew Jackson moving on.
Okay.
Next we have Barack Obama versus Theodore Roosevelt.
Ooh, this is a tough one.
This is an interesting one. I instinctually, I got to go with Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, I think
I think agree.
Obama's in shape, and I think he could throw a punch. But Roosevelt once got shot. Wasn't Roosevelt the one that got shot during a speech?
No, yeah, I was about to say I have this.
He just straight up finished the speech.
No, yeah, here's the quote. Do you guys want to hear the quote after he got shot? It's pretty bad.
Yeah, tell the
story. It's
story.
pretty cold. He said he got shot basically while giving his speech, and he said, "I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot. I give you my word. I do not care a rap about being shot, not a rap." And then he finished his hour-and-a-half speech with the bullet lodged in his chest, and said he didn't even care about being shot.
I consider this to be a little bit of an unfair matchup for Barack Obama, because I think under most other circumstances, as young and as in shape as he was in office, he would win. But Teddy Roosevelt is Teddy Roosevelt. Dude led a charge in the Battle of San Juan Hill. Dude got shot. There's a reason why his party was called the Bull Moose Party. Dude was an absolute unit.
Yes,
I could
have
make
to
a
agree.
point for Obama though. He was younger than most. He was I think he's the youngest president in the world when he started.
I mean, I have to agree. This is a little bit unfair for Obama because I think against most of these other presidents that we have on the list, Obama would definitely hold some ground. He would hold his own for sure because he is one of the youngest presidents and probably one of the most in shape presidents that we've had. But against Roosevelt,
and he grew up in Chicago.
I'm sorry, Obama.
Do not forget that. Obama's from Chicago.
True. I don't know. I think Roosevelt is he's got to move on. I don't think there's a way
Roosevelt invented the teddy bear too. Well, he didn't invent it, but he was the inspiration behind it.
Yeah.
He's just so cool. He's iconic. You know.
All right, we got to move on. Sorry, Obama, but hey, this is we're not pulling any punches here. We're going to the third round here, or the third bracket here. We got Donald Trump versus Bill Clinton.
Now, both of these guys are not afraid to play dirty. They will fight nasty, dog. They will mess each other up. They will do the most grimiest stuff.
Now, I don't know. I have some notes here. I know, like, Trump is. I think you were saying this earlier, Caleb. Trump's like 6'3",
he's a large man.
240 pounds. He's a large
man, and he's not just fat. Is the thing.
Yeah, he's
got some real size to him.
Like he does have a beer belly. He does have a beer belly, but like still, that beer belly is not accounting for the whole 200 pounds. And I don't have much on Bill Clinton, unfortunately.
Well, we all know lots of things he did.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
He actually, fun fact, has won 2 Grammys.
Okay, well, that ain't gonna help him.
Yeah, but that's cool. He's won 2 Grammys. One for an audiobook, and then one song like sampled one of his speeches or something, and it won a Grammy. So he's won 2 Grammys. Here's the real reason. I think the thing that puts Donald Trump over the edge. I think Bill Clinton could definitely take it out. He's sly. I feel like what they would do is they'd start talking halfway through the battle, and one of them would backstab the other one.
There'd be a lot of trash talking here.
I think Bill Clinton would hold his own because he was very, very young when he was president.
But here's the thing: he was a vegan.
Oh, he was a vegan? Bill Clinton was a vegan?
I don't know if Trump he was the entire time in his office, but at some point he was.
Man cannot boast. Where's his protein coming from?
I do think Bill Clinton could hold his own here. I think this would be a close match, but I do think Donald Trump would just edge it out a little bit.
I don't know. I feel a little bad about that one. I think Bill
also
Clinton
because he's from Brooklyn, and I mean, anybody. I'm pretty sure
Bill Clinton's from Arkansas. He's from
Really?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. No.
But I don't really. But it depends on where he grew up in Arkansas is the thing.
Even still, any from Brooklyn knows how to swing, you know?
True. And Donald Trump's definitely
That's kind of a stereotype.
Fights when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Like when he was younger, he definitely punched some dudes. He was an absolute Chad as well.
Okay, so we moving Trump on?
Yeah.
This one, we don't have to spend much time on, I don't think. We got William Howard Taft versus Abraham Lincoln.
All right, so Abraham Lincoln, everyone knows. I've got lots of notes on him here. Everyone knows Abraham Lincoln was a beast wrestler. Actually, I don't know if everyone knows that. But he's in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was 6'4".
He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and he lost one match out of the 300 that were recorded that he played. He lost 1 to 299 wins. That ratio is insane.
It's almost as good as Mayweather's.
I would love to see Abraham Lincoln fight Mayweather.
I want to see that. The fight of the century.
Logan Paul, get out of here. It's Abraham Lincoln's turn. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if everyone knows this, but Howard Taft, fattest president, got stuck in a bathtub.
But here's the thing. Actually, that's an urban legend. Here's the thing, though. When you're that fat, think about sumo wrestlers, bro.
Sumo wrestlers is a whole different ballpark.
It's the same idea, though. You know how hard it is to take out a dude that big? What would Abe Lincoln do to him? Punch him in the gut? That's not going to do anything to him.
I mean,
I feel like Abe Lincoln would sneak up behind him, stick him in a chokehold.
He could get behind him.
Taft is tapping out within 2 seconds.
That's fair. But then all he could do is lean back. Taft, fall on him.
I don't know. I don't
Lincoln,
think
if that were to happen, Lincoln might come out with some broken ribs, but I still got Taft. Or I still got Lincoln.
Yeah, I still got Lincoln as well. I was just trying to make an argument for him.
Taft would have some staying power for sure. Like, he might draw out the battle, but he wouldn't win the battle.
And ultimately, I
Yeah.
think he would suffer on account of the battle being drawn out. Even if Taft were to beat him in wrestling, all that Lincoln would have to do is run circles around him and get him tired.
Yeah, you're right. Because Abe can do that bob and weave for sure.
Oh, you totally bob and weave. Okay. He's light as a butterfly.
Didn't happen
Okay.
when it mattered.
Oof.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Anyway,
President
He did
for
not
Abe
bob
Lincoln.
or weave.
he's old enough to we can make jokes about his death. But.
Too soon.
Respectfully.
John Adams versus Thomas Jefferson.
John Adams, fun fact, him and I can't remember who the other guy was, but him and someone else went to visit Shakespeare, and they stole a piece of one of his like huge fancy chairs. They just like ripped it off and took it home.
Now this
they
is
could have
the
it.
this is the second and third president going against each other. I do think wasn't I think Adams was Jefferson's like advisor. Is that right?
Jefferson was Adams' vice president, and those two did not really get along. That was back in the days when the vice president was whoever
Was just your
whoever
competition?
got second in the presidential election. And
Yeah.
that worked out fine with George Washington and John Adams, because George Washington was the best and everybody loved him. But when John Adams had Thomas Jefferson as the vice president is when people really started to see that as an issue. And they're like, okay, this probably isn't
Yeah.
super super good. This don't want toxicity in the Oval Office.
I think that Thomas Jefferson would beat out John Adams. I'm sorry, I was reading a different president. John Adams, just on the fact that John Adams is pretty small. He was a little guy. Thomas Jefferson was a pretty big guy.
John Adams was only
6'2".
5'7".
Yeah, he was only he was a short king, and Thomas Jefferson also did just a lot of cool things, with like the Declaration of Independence and stuff like that.
He was definitely a
Just a cool
true
guy.
scholar, but I think physically these guys were both kind of wusses. I think John
Yeah,
Adams
these guys
slightly
were-
outweighs.
This battle is probably a little anticlimactic for those watching.
I'm still thinking Thomas Jefferson takes it, but I'm up in the air. This is kind of a
I would
a
say
crapshoot.
Thomas
I'll
Jefferson,
say Jefferson sneaks
takes
by.
it too. Okay,
all right.
yeah.
Jefferson
All right.
sneaks by. Well, because Jefferson's also probably a little bit more of a brave, noble, outgoing guy. I feel like he wouldn't choke as easy as John Adams would.
Richard Nixon versus George Washington.
This is a tough one.
This is a tough one.
My instinct says George Washington.
So George Washington was a lifetime soldier. I'm pretty sure he was a solid 6'4". Dude actually fought in the military before he
Wow.
was a general. He was a lieutenant. He fought in the 7 Years' War on the British side. I don't think Nixon did anything close
See,
to
I just
that.
think George Washington he just has quite a bit more fighting experience. Plus, back then, think about it, their guns weren't great. They honestly probably did quite a bit of hand-to-hand combat. He's probably pretty skilled in it. And he was only 57. I mean, that's a pretty, well, I guess that's pretty old back then. They didn't live as long as we do now. But,
Yeah, I have a couple cool war stories from Washington. During he had 3 horses shot from under him in a single
wow.
battle.
man,
Yeah.
my man's could not keep a horse.
Yeah, and 4 bullets ripped through his coat. So he was close. So he's had some
See,
close
he
calls.
comes in
He's a brave
clutch. He's
He
a
comes in
pocket.
clutch.
He's a pocket Washington.
Another thing about Washington is that one of his interests, not only was it his whole deal was that he was in the Continental Army and whatever, but just as a hobby and an interest was military arts and Western expansion. That was just his interests.
Well,
was, studying military arts.
I think everyone's interest back then was Western expansion.
That's
That's just what they were doing.
Fair. But military arts makes it sound like he was studying this stuff. He wasn't just a soldier. He was
He took it seriously.
Yeah,
it was his
yeah,
livelihood.
he was a strategist.
He was unanimously voted president, which is pretty sick.
So are we saying Washington?
I would say
beats
Washington takes the cake easily. I think Washington is my favorite going forward, to be honest.
Really? I
It?
don't
Oh,
have
that's
my
who you're
money.
placing your bets on.
It's between Washington and Roosevelt. I don't know who else is in the field, but so far those are
No,
my favorites.
mine's on Honest Abe.
Well, let's move on to number 7. Ronald Reagan versus Ulysses S. Grant.
Are we doing these guys in their prime or as presidents is the question.
As presidents.
Did you know, fun fact, did you know that his name is Ulysses S. Grant? You know that the second S actually wasn't a real thing? It was a miscommunication and it stuck?
Wait, so what's his middle name?
I don't know, but it's not Ulysses S. Grant. That was just a miscommunication.
His middle name doesn't start with an S?
I might, but that's not what he said. I didn't get that far. All I read was that it wasn't actually. You can Google it, but Ulysses S. Grant wasn't actually. The S is nothing.
Oh yeah, his middle name. Wait, his middle name is Ulysses.
Yeah, see.
His first name is Hiram.
Interesting.
His name is Hiram Ulysses Grant, and there's only one S in Ulysses at the end. I mean, interesting.
But anyways, he did fight in the Civil War. But the reason why he might not be as strong of a contender as we thought is apparently he really could not stand the sight of blood and absolutely hated it.
Who?
Ulysses Grant. Which means that if he's fighting hand to hand, he's gonna have to see some blood. He might choke.
I have to say, even if that is the case, I don't think that's going to stop him. He was a general in the war.
Do we have the weight categories of these two contenders?
Here's
I do
thing.
Actually.
Most of these generals and people who were in the military, they stepped out of military and then took a long gap between then and when they became president. Grant was the vice president of Abe Lincoln solely because he was such a great militarist and a general. He ended up winning the Civil War for them. But then Abe Lincoln ended up getting assassinated, so he went right from being the hero of the Civil War stepping into his presidency. So dude was probably near the prime of his life.
I do have weight categories for you. Ulysses S. Grant coming in at 5'8", 156 pounds. Only 47 years old when he started his presidency.
Wow.
That's young.
That is young for this.
And we have, as opposed to Ronald Reagan, right? Is that who he's going with?
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan, who unfortunately is pretty old, 70, coming in at 6'1", 185 pounds.
Wow, okay. See,
now, I am going to make a case for Reagan here because he was in a lot of war. He was in the Air Force, he was in the Army, and he was actually shot several times in an assassination attempt, but recovered. So while president, so while he was 70, he was shot and recovered. So he's a man for sure. He can put up a fight.
Yeah, but he's a lot older, and he seems like the kind of guy that might be a pussy.
Ronald Reagan?
He gives me too much sweet grandpa
what?
vibes.
Yeah, I feel like he talks big, but once he actually would get there, I feel like he'd choke.
Wasn't Ronald Reagan the head of the drug war?
He was super controversial, and stuff.
Yeah, but
that's all I'm saying.
Still,
I feel
that's
like
not
he talked big.
He's not a baby for sure.
I don't know, but he wasn't. He wasn't ever out there fighting people. I guess when he was.
I think Ronald Reagan
yeah.
does enough in this fight to earn some self-respect. But ultimately,
I think
Grant's
takes it.
youth and experience.
Yeah, it's definitely
this isn't like an Omni-Man type situation. It's definitely close.
Yeah, Ronald Reagan stood his own, but I do think the youth is going to play a huge factor in this. Only 47 years old.
And Grant is what, 5'8", 150? Dude's built like. I picture this guy kind of stout, barrel-chested. Dude's built like a wrestler.
We got Joe Biden versus George W. Bush. This is an interesting one. I immediately don't think that Joe Biden could win against basically anybody in a fist fight. I'm sorry.
They're both pretty old, though. Or they both were pretty old.
George W. wasn't too old.
George Bush did do 9/11.
So you can't say that.
He did. What do you mean?
He didn't do it. He was president when that happened.
Well, you don't know the truth then, Caleb.
Wait, so are we talking George W. or George H.W.?
George W. George.
Well, George H.W.
Bush
was a pilot. Was in the Navy. Did George W. Bush serve?
George W. Bush did serve. I have it here. George W. Bush. He was in the Texas Air National Guard and the Alabama Air National Guard. He reached first lieutenant in the Air Force. He was in the I don't know what any of this military garble means. I don't understand any of it. But yeah, he saw some battle. Well, I don't really know if he saw any battle, but he was in a lot of branches of the military.
I think a lot of this will come down to youth as well. George W. Bush was in his 50s when he became president, and Joe Biden has been one of the older ones in office.
Yeah, he really has been. And, he just doesn't seem really light on his feet. Have you guys seen the video of him trying to walk up the stairs to the plane?
Unfortunately, this is true.
Can't even beat stairs, nonetheless a Texan. Don't forget, this guy's from Texas.
Well, I think Joe Biden would get a big shock of energy in the beginning, get a good punch in, and then be like,
and
what
then
just
break
happened?
his hand.
Yeah.
I feel like most of us have seen the videos of him trying to fight people.
Oh yeah.
I think he would start off really strong. Maybe give George W. Bush a little bit of a scare, like, oh shoot, this guy's like really coming for it, and then ultimately he would have an asthma attack and lose.
He'd break a hip. And
Biden doesn't have any military experience, which we went over, and Bush does have military experience, which does also give him a huge edge.
Yeah.
So even if he hasn't seen the war, just being in the military, I think you have an edge over somebody who hasn't. So, all right, Bush is going.
All right, well,
forward.
we're in the the quarterfinals now.
We got Andrew Jackson versus Roosevelt.
Wow.
Ooh. This is where it gets tough.
That's a big one.
This is a tough one.
I've got my money on Theodore Roosevelt still. He's an icon. He was a hunter. Did he serve in the military too?
He led what was it called? The Buffalo Battalion. What was it? Let me look it up.
Yeah, so he's got lots of fighting experience. He has got just the attitude you need,
Yeah, he also has an amazing mustache.
That does help.
Also, Theodore Roosevelt knows how to grind. He was born. He was really weak as a kid. He had what a lot of people thought was polio. He was paralyzed from the waist down. He basically swam until he was able, until he got his legs back, and then from there he just dude was a power lifter. He probably would have done CrossFit
impressive
if he were alive today. He's a lifetime athlete.
Here's where I think Theodore Roosevelt takes it. Here's how I see this battle going down. Andrew Jackson would come in and go stupid. He'd go crazy. And I think in pure prowess in terms of battle, Andrew Jackson might edge him out. But he is not as logical of a thinker as I think Theodore Roosevelt would be. I think Theodore Roosevelt would play it smart. I think Andrew Jackson would let the just the bloodthirst get to him, and he would get too brutal. And I think Theodore Roosevelt would just be able to find his weak spots and
I love the way that we're portraying Andrew Jackson here. That is absolutely crazy, but it's honestly probably not too far from the truth. Is what's bad.
Exactly. I think Andrew Jackson would start off real calculated, and then I think he'd get cocky, and he would just be like, I don't want to just kill him. I want to humiliate him. And
I really want to make a case for Andrew Jackson. I really do, because I think this would be a really intense fight. I think this would be a really close one. But I do have to side with you. I think Andrew Jackson would go ham, but Theodore Roosevelt would probably pull it out just because I think he was younger. I think overall he just has the physical edge over Jackson.
Yeah, you know what it would be like? It'd be that scene in Civil War. Okay, no pun intended, because which I guess he was before that, right? But
way before.
But still, yeah. I think it would be like Civil War, the Captain America movie, where Captain America's beating up Iron Man, got him against the wall, and then Iron Man he's scanning, fighting, and then he grabs his fist. That's what it would be like with Theodore.
Teddy Roosevelt's going to download Jackson's move list.
Exactly.
Because, but we'll see. That's the thing. I think Andrew Jackson's move list is basically just absolute wild, bloodthirsty, uppercut. I don't think he has any move list. I think he just swings. I think he swings violently, and I think that's basically. I think Theodore Roosevelt would have a little more strategy over his.
He'd have a little more tact. Yeah,
a little more tactics. Okay, Theodore's moving on. Trump versus Lincoln.
I think Trump makes this interesting,
Trump,
with his pure size. I think Lincoln would try to make it a wrestling match.
Trump is always just a wild card.
And I think Trump would benefit a little bit from that.
I think Lincoln would have a little more staying power than Trump would have.
And Lincoln was younger, because Donald Trump was pretty old. Sure, he looked he didn't look super old, but he was pretty old. And Abe, how old was Abe when he served in office?
Oh yeah, he was only 52.
Yeah, see, so that's on the younger side of these contestants. So,
Yeah, I definitely think
that's a
that Donald
tough
Trump
one.
would make this one interesting, but
and like we said, Donald Trump fights dirty. He definitely gets some crotch shots in, and he'd like pull the hair
oh,
and
for sure.
throat jabs. I mean, he would fight dirty.
Oh yeah.
Here's how I see this going. I think Abe would try to take this as a wrestling match to start off, and I don't think it would go too well for him. Just solely due because they're the same size about as far as height goes, but Trump is going to be a lot bigger, a lot broader, and a lot more. He does have a dump truck, and I think that's going to come in handy. But one thing that Abe was adaptable. He had to fire like 3 or 4 different generals before he finally settled on one who did his job right.
I think Abraham Lincoln is although he was kind of tall and slim, I think he was stronger than
he was cut. He
looked.
definitely was cut.
I actually have a little a thing here, a little excerpt from a book from Abraham Lincoln. It reads, in his first campaign speech after returning from war, he observed a supporter in the crowd under attack, so he grabbed the assailant by his quote neck and the seat of his trousers and tossed him out of the crowd.
See, that's sick.
Like
that's some WWE type stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm
absolutely.
saying. So Thomas Jefferson versus George Washington.
George Washington.
I mean,
this is an
yeah.
easy. Yeah,
Let's not even.
Thomas Jefferson barely edged it out last round, and George Washington's a powerhouse. So.
Yeah, Thomas Jefferson's going into this.
How did Thomas Jefferson get into the quarterfinals?
Because we put him against.
Well, he went
Adams.
against John
We put 2 of the
Adams.
weakest seeds against each
Oh,
other.
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, Obama deserved better.
Should have
but-
had that fight. That would have been a fight. But
Anyway, Ulysses S. Grant versus George W. Bush.
Ulysses S. Grant again. I mean, I hate to have another. George W. Bush also kind of sneaked in there. He was against the lowest seed, Joe Biden.
Yeah, I do think Bush. I don't think Bush was. It wasn't as a quick match as it was Thomas Jefferson versus George Washington. But
Thomas
I do
Jefferson
think,
walked up to. George Washington walked up to Thomas Jefferson and just ripped his throat out.
Thomas Jefferson, he gave up. I mean, he surrendered. Yeah. So Grant is definitely moving forward. There's no question, right?
What can you do? You're gonna lose.
We're going to the semifinals now. Theodore Roosevelt, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, and Ulysses S. Grant.
You just butchered that name.
I mean, this is the time for the audience, the listeners. You vote now. Who do you think is going to come out on top?
Here's what would be interesting. What if we did teams and we did the top 2 versus the bottom? There's a tag team. No,
I mean,
that's a different episode.
Yeah, a different episode where we. Yeah.
Now, if we did do that, though, it would definitely be Theodore and Abe Lincoln. They would. They would be the winning.
Oh well, actually, that I don't know, dude. I don't know at all.
I mean,
That
that's a
would be
different.
close.
It's a different game.
Anyway, let's not spend any time on
Okay.
that. Roosevelt versus Lincoln.
Oh, this is tough. These are both men of honor. These were both known as some of the most like honorable, noble presidents we've had. They're both kind of famous for that.
These guys are definitely tapping gloves before.
Oh,
that
yeah, these
fight.
guys shake hands after.
Before and after.
Before.
Well,
I guess
is it
one will
to
be
the
dead
death?
after.
No. This is to the death.
Okay, whoever
This is
dies
an
is
honorable.
going to
This
get.
is an honorable fight.
It's going to get a bit of a tribute, for sure, as
Oh,
well
yeah.
as a hero's burial.
This is the kind of fight where afterward the other one takes a knee for him.
I have to go. I really want to go with Lincoln, only because I think he's got a lot of. He's a crowd pleaser for sure. I mean, think about Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Slayer. There was an Abraham Lincoln against zombies movie. People think that
speaking
Abraham
of
Lincoln
movies,
can fight.
Night at the Museum. Theodore Roosevelt, Robin Williams.
Here's how I see this. Do you guys remember the Daniel Cormier versus John Jones fight? So Daniel Cormier is smaller. He's about 5'7", 5'8", and he's a wrestler. Although it doesn't quite match up with their fighting styles, but body type is similar. John Jones is about 6'4", wiry as can be. These guys fought 3 times and then ended up splitting the first 2. So they were really well matched up. I see this going a little bit like that. One benefits from pure length, the other benefits from pure size and strength.
I think because Abe Lincoln can keep Theodore at a distance, but Theodore Roosevelt.
Lincoln's jab game is going to be
close
unreal.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, here's what I'm thinking is going to happen here. I think Abraham Lincoln again is going to go wrestling. That's his whole strategy. He's going to try to wrestle. I don't think that will play out well for him when it comes
I think
to
it
Theodore
won't be
Roosevelt.
too bad though. I think it would work.
I think Roosevelt he's shorter but heavier, and I think he is more of a savage, and I think he would take some. I think he would. I don't think Abraham
I
Lincoln.
hate to say this, but I think I'm ready for my final vote. And honestly, I think it's got to go to Abe for me. I was really holding out hope for Theodore. I kind of had him as my number one after that first round, but
well, then I'm going to put my vote on Roosevelt, and Caleb, you can be the.
Wow, I was going to let you be the tiebreaker, Carter. I got Roosevelt advancing. I think this guy's is a lifetime athlete.
Okay,
all right.
That's okay.
Dude was a gym rat. He was most definitely a gym rat. I think he held his body in the highest regard, and he put the work in to make sure it was maintained. I got Roosevelt.
All right, Theodore Roosevelt's moving on. Okay, Washington versus Grant.
That's tough.
Do we have a weight on Washington?
Yeah, we do. Washington is coming in at age 57 during his presidency. 6'2", weighs 175 pounds.
Wow.
Ulysses S. Grant. Do I have his? Ulysses S. Grant, 47, 5'8", 156 pounds. So similar here.
For pure comparison, George Washington is about exactly my size,
and also not that old as well.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about old presidents earlier, but they're
pretty
both
much
pretty
in their
young,
prime
40 and 50s.
still.
I tend to lean a little bit towards Grant, just because I think he was more of a fighter. Like he was like almost grew up fighting, I feel like, in a way.
Well, he spent a lot of time in the military, yeah.
Right. Washington, although was in a few battles, he was in a lot of battles and did study
George Washington does have that
military arts.
That size advantage, though.
George Washington was a lifetime soldier.
Here's the thing. I think George Washington was a great leader, but how great of an actual fighter was he? I mean, he did a lot of delegating, and he did a lot of leading the charge and inspiring his men, but in terms of actual battle, was he all that much ahead of his fellow?
Here's the thing. We don't know much about Grant in actual battle, though, either. He did take place in the actual fighting in the Mexican-American War, but also George Washington was up close and dirty during the 7 Years' War, and arguably that was probably a little bit more brutal.
Think about this, though. So the year Grant was born in 1822, and his years of service listed here is 1839 to 1869. Okay. So he joined the military basically as soon as he could, and left the military 1869 to be in office as
so he
president.
served for what, 30 years?
Also 1869. He immediately left the military to go to his presidency. Like,
served for 30 years?
I mean,
know. I'm up in the air on this one. You
that's
guys
intense. See, he spent 30 years basically as general of the army and then immediately started his presidency. Like, this guy is basically coming into this battle from another battle.
George Washington
like, this guy's
really
going
did
war
that too,
for
though.
war.
I mean, George Washington, they won freedom, and then he was immediately like, well, someone's got to lead us.
The 7 Years' War, which was the beginning of Washington's career, like his real combat experience, took place in the 1750s, and he became president in the 1780s. So he had a solid 25 years as well. And I would consider Washington's experience in the 7 Years' War to be a little bit more, consequential in this matchup specifically, just due to its sheer brutality of it. This is a tough one.
Okay, well, let's just place our. Someone's got to be the tiebreaker, so I'm going to place my vote on Grant. Jacob?
I got Washington.
Okay,
and
you're the tiebreaker if Caleb's on Washington.
I think I got to go Washington too. Sorry, Carter.
All right, no, that's fair. I think
that size advantage, as well as the brutality of the war, really took it home for him.
All right, Washington's moving on, and we have our finals here. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, versus George Washington, the first president.
Wow. Two of the most iconic ones.
I am not upset at
Two
all.
very iconic presidents.
This final matchup, I think even if it was every president, I still think it would be these two.
Honestly, it would definitely be close. These guys would definitely come out pretty close to the top, if not the top. But, man, I still lean towards Roosevelt. I was for Roosevelt last round, and I'm for Roosevelt this round too.
Here's an interesting fact I found about Teddy Roosevelt. It might have swayed me a little bit. I was always kind of picturing him about Grant size, definitely his body composition, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit more athletic. Teddy Roosevelt wasn't short. He was 5'10".
Yeah, that's as tall as me.
Yeah, except like built.
Yeah,
Except
yeah,
not
actually.
really skinny.
No, fair, fair.
No disrespect.
No. I
That was enough to sway me. My money's on Theodore Roosevelt, and that's.
I got Theodore Roosevelt as well.
Let's go.
Oh, we're all
full
three
sweep.
going on.
Let's make some arguments for George Washington.
Wow.
Did Washington deserve that? I mean, I'm still going on Roosevelt. I do think this is an intense battle. I really do. This is not an easy. It wasn't an easy decision. I just think that Washington is just. I don't know. It's a close one. Honestly, it really.
I don't think he has the
way.
balls that Roosevelt has. Remember
I would
that
say
he got
that's true.
shot during a
That's true.
speech and kept going.
Yeah, I think he has the balls, and I think he's got that like in.
And he was a hunter. He's got stealth.
I think George Washington lived for one thing, and that was being a general. And that ultimately wore him out. By the time he was president, he was ready to be done. He was trying so actively, so hard to retire.
Yeah, so like he
doesn't
never
even wanna
wanted
be
to
there,
do-
yeah.
He doesn't want to do this.
He's ready to go home to Mount Vernon.
Yeah, but I
and
think
grow himself some
Roosevelt.
tobacco and smoke on
Yeah,
that for the rest
Roosevelt
of his life.
wants to fight.
I think Teddy Roosevelt was a fighter up until the day he died.
Exactly. Wow.
Alrighty,
So
well,
our
we've
winner,
got our winner.
our winner of the first Battle of the Presidents is
Wow.
Theodore Roosevelt,
Wow.
26th President of the United States. Crazy.
GGWP.
Definitely a great battle. There was a lot of death, a lot of gore. I still feel bad for Obama. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
But-
he could have made it easily to the quarterfinals.
At least to the second round. He really
Yeah,
got
I
screwed
can't
over
believe-
by this. He just got screwed over by the algorithm.
But hey, this is not about who comes in second or third. This is about who won, and that's Roosevelt. So, yeah. So if you guys want to see this, there's more presidents. There's more than just these 16 presidents that we chose. I think 16. So if you want to see another set of presidents go against each other to the death, then like this video, share this video, and yeah, this is. If anything is going to unite the two parties in the American system, it's going to be all the presidents fighting to the death. So, you know, this is share this with all your friends.
And thank you for listening, and thank you, Caleb, for helping us decide.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, you
Yeah,
guys.
we needed an expert.
That was a lot of fun.
So follow us on Instagram @Squabble Podcast, and we're on Spotify, we're on iTunes, we're on anywhere that you can find podcasts, and YouTube, and a website.
Yeah.
We have a website.
www.squabblepodcast.com.
And sick. That's it. I
That's
guess.
it, yeah.
I
Tune
guess
in
we'll
next
snap you
week.
later.
We will snap you later.
I did a snap as well to that. Did you
Did
hear
you
that?
guys snap?